Good evening and welcome to a Sunday Huddle from PressProsMagazine.com. I'm Bruce Hooley. There is Mr. Sonny Fulks sitting right beside me. Why a Sunday Huddle? Because, hey, man, the high school football or high school basketball schedule is pretty much an every night of the week thing now. So the only night where they're not playing is the night when we decided we were going to have to start doing the huddle. So we're here to talk some basketball, some Ohio State basketball, a little Bengal football. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate it very much. Good evening to you, Mr. Fulks.
Because I've been taking in laundry, just trying to make some extra money to pay the Christmas bills with. It has been a long dry spell around here in Covington. So yeah, we've been. I know there have been people out there say, "What happened to the show?" I enjoyed it. I know Steve Partington's watching it tonight in Port Charlotte, Florida. He's licking his chops for the Monday Night Huddle, but it has been a busy last 30 days, and here we are in the middle of basketball, and yeah, it's going to be a busy next 30 days, as you know.
Yes, indeed. And I will apologize in advance because it's inevitable that I will cough at some point during the broadcast because I've been battling a nasty recurring cough. It's kept me off my radio show for the last 4 days. I'm going back tomorrow. Hopefully it'll go well. Hopefully I'll be able to go the rest of the week. I'm not sick. I just have like vestiges of something. So you're all safe out there watching the Huddle show. So that's another reason why we haven't been with you the last 2 weeks. But we have been covering a lot of basketball, and we've got basketball to talk about in our Press Pros original coverage area. Dark and Auglaize and Miami and Mercer County, of course. And then we also have our Central Ohio basketball. We've got some highly ranked teams in girls. Fort Loramie, most notably, number one. A couple OCC teams in the top 10 of the state on the girls' side. And on the boys' side, we have two number one ranked teams, Versailles in Division 3, Botkins in Division 4. And Mr. Fulks has his own set of rankings that he is going to debut tonight based upon games that he has seen, correct?
Correct. You know, I've had at least 2 dozen people. Of course, I'm in a gym every night, seeing somebody play basketball, and people are always kind of come up and say, "Hey, Sonny, what's the best team that you've seen play? Who's the best team you play?" There's 1,000 ways, I think, to answer that ask that question. I've got 2 or 3 ways to answer it, and I'm going to divulge here in a few minutes the 5 teams that I would rank that are the best teams that I've seen play this year in order of rank. And I'll tell you why I think they're the 5 best.
Very good. Well, I don't think it will be any revelation to anyone that the best girls team you have seen play is the best girls team we saw play last year, and that would be the Fort Loramie Redskins. Tri-Village has a nice team, and we expect Tri-Village and Fort Loramie to meet in the tournament, deep in the tournament, like we have expected Minster and Fort Loramie to meet the last few years, and that indeed came to pass last year in the regional semifinals. Tri-Village was in the other half of the bracket, and then Loramie took out Tri-Village on its way to what was then, I mean, those were 2 tougher games than they ran into at UD Arena. And, Fort Loramie this year has retooled. You've seen Carla Siegel's team play. They're missing a lot from last season, but they look like they have not missed a beat. Give us a scouting report on the Fort Loramie girls.
Well, you're also leaving out New Knoxville, who's ranked in the top 5 or 6 in the state in Division 4, along with Division 4, along with Tri-Village and Fort Loramie. New Knoxville's a very good team. But I would rank, as you just said, Fort Loramie until somebody shows me they're athletic enough to play with them for 32 minutes. I would rank them head and shoulders above competition in Southwest Ohio because of their ability to substitute. They have so much talent, so many athletes. They've got that right mix of experience. They're expertly coached, and the expectations there seem like the perfect motivation for kids who come into the program. They know what's expected of them. They know the standards. You know, if you want to play basketball for Carla Siegel and you want to play it at Fort Loramie, hey, look, from the 5th grade on, you set your sights on that. You commit to it. You invest in it. And when you get there, no complaining. If you don't get the playing time that you think you should get, or you don't get treated the way you think you should get treated, or something isn't exactly according to Hoyle if you're a bridge player. But it has made that program something to behold. And now I think they're tied or maybe a game or 2 ahead of Berlin Highland for all-time wins in Ohio girls high school basketball. It's a ridiculous number. Like I don't know, maybe 900 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of those are Carlos Eagle wins. So, yeah, there's no question about it in my mind. I've seen him play now 3 times. And someone said recently, well, get him out of the Shelby County League and let him play good non-com competition. When do they go to Ottawa Glandorf? Well, they beat Ottawa Glandorf at home in Laramie last year, 58-37, I think, or 57-38, by 20 points or so. They went to Ottawa 2 weeks ago on a Saturday and beat them by 30. They beat them 60-31 up there in their own gym. And Ottawa is a physical team, a talented team, and a team with a lot of motivation, to have their day at the expense of Fort Loramie, and they couldn't do it.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting if things proceed as we expect and Loramie ends up with Tri-Village in the tournament. Last year, Loramie did an outstanding job of shadowing Riley Sagaster all over the court. She couldn't get a shot off. She has added to her range this year. I got to see her play here in Central Ohio. She can shoot it from very, very deep. And Megan Dunham, they run a lot of things through Megan Dunham, their 6'2" post player. And she does a really nice job distributing the basketball and then cleaning up on the offensive glass. So that'll be an issue for Loramie size-wise, because other than Ava Schultes, they really don't have a tall player on Loramie's team. But they play that smothering defense, and they can hit threes on you. Colleen Brandewie and the rest of the Redskins can hit threes, and they come at you in waves. That's one thing Loramie can do, is they bring, play 8, 9, 10 players, and Tri-Village cannot do that. So we'll see how that one goes if and when it comes about. You had some pretty thrilling action to cover on Friday night, Tippecanoe and Piqua. And was that young Stanley Khan that went 6 for 6 from 3-point range on Friday night?
Had a great shooting night, 6 for 6 from threes, 11 from 13 from the field overall. And I would say somebody would be hard pressed to have a more exciting, fan-friendly game to watch, depending on your partisanship, which team you were there to see and root for, than what that team was. And kudos to Brett Kopp and the Piqua Indians. That's a team that has been on the outside looking in for a long time. And I think that they may have that rudder now in the water with Brett Kopp, a guy who somebody described it, the tail does not wag that dog. And so they have lacked stability. They've lacked consistency. And you've been around sports as long as I have, longer maybe than I have, in fact. And you know what stability means to a program, where you know who the coach is going to be, not only next year, but 5 years from now, maybe 10 years from now. It's not like it once was, where somebody coaches for 30 or 35 years. But again, like Carlos Eagle has at Fort Loramie, that expectation of knowing, if I'm going to play, here's what I've got to do. Here's what that coach insists that his players do if you're going to play and be successful and have a good experience playing for Piqua. I think Brett Kopp's that guy. And they played the other night with an enthusiasm for competition that I haven't seen out of Piqua basketball in years. And I think they're sick. They lost a tough game last night on the road, so they lost 2 in a row this weekend. In fact, they lost to Milton Union, I think, last night, who's got a very, very fine team down in West Milton. So, again, kudos to the Piqua Indians. But Stanley Khan is our Who's Hot honoree this week for Press Pros Magazine. Scored a career-high 33 points, and he had plenty of help.
Yeah, well, there was a lot of offense in that game. Did you tell me there were 24 threes in that game?
Piqua had 11 made threes, and I think Tip had 13.
Whew,
yeah,
wow.
I've counted that a couple of times. I had both books, and the books were off by 1. The scorebooks, the respective scorebooks for the 2 coaches, and but I think it was 24 between the 2 teams, and a very high percentage. I mean, it was close to 50%, 50-50. So they shot it and shot it well. Bryson Roberts had a great night for Piqua. A youngster named Bryson Roberts, who literally kept Piqua in the game in the third quarter. He made 3 consecutive threes, deep threes from the corner to match any run that Tip City made. They would creep out to 4 or 5 or 6 points in a lead, and they get the ball to Bryson Roberts, who didn't score at all in the first game, in the first half, I should say. He hit a deep 3, put him right back in the game, and it was a thriller right down to the last second, because Bryson Roberts hit a 3, wouldn't have won the game. They were down 4, but they hit a 3. And when you lose by 1, it looks a lot better than losing by 4, just if nothing else, with a fact of pride.
Yeah, and that was a little bit like the end of the Tampa Bay game today, although Tampa Bay had a reasonable chance to win that game with a great late comeback and then couldn't play defense for 30 seconds and ended up losing. So In the NFC, it'll be the Rams and the 49ers, and they will play in LA next week. So San Francisco, LA, I don't know who you pick to like in that matchup. And then in the AFC, we got the Cincinnati Bengals. They've been saying all year long, why not us? Well, it is them. And they beat Mike Vrabel's Tennessee Titans. Hard to win a game when you're sacked 9 times, but Joe Burrow made it happen. And just a pretty cool thing to see the city of Cincinnati on fire for the Cincinnati Bengals. We'll be going on the road to play either the Buffalo Bills or the Kansas City Chiefs. They are playing right now, which is duly noted by Bernie, who says there's a football game going on. Yeah, there is, and we're footballed out, Bernie, and we want to talk a little basketball here. And Debbie's with us down in Albany, Georgia. She says she's wearing her Press Pros sweatshirt, so that's very nice. Justin is looking forward to Botkins and Tri-Village probably meeting again. Yeah, the first time they played, it's double overtime, 51-50 by Botkins. I was a little surprised it was that low scoring. How about you?
Well, no, I think both of those teams are very well coached, and I think both of those coaches, if Phil Groves wants to play defense and beat you with defense, I think they can do that. I know Josh Sagister can do that at Tri-Village. So I think they're talented enough, they're well coached enough that they can adapt to the situation and play however they need to play. And, you know, when you get in tournament basketball, a lot of people will scout you throughout the year and say, well, this is what you do to beat a team. Except if that team shows up and plays a different style and a different pace with a different personality than what you've scouted. So I think both of those teams are capable of doing that. And they have the talent, by the way. I saw Lane Sarver play last night against Troy Christian. Lane Sarver is a 6'6" shooting. I don't know what you would call him, a shooting guard or a 3, small forward.
Yeah.
For Tri-Village, but didn't have a great scoring night last night. Only had 10 points, but he had one of the more impressive performances of that game, just for the way he moved around and spaced the court and got his teammates involved. And that's, you know, the one knock on that team that people have asked over the last couple of years: if he doesn't score, who does?
Right.
And last night he got the ball in the hands of a lot of different people. I think they had 9 different players score.
Well, and that was a concern of Josh Sagister, their head coach last year, after they got upset in the regionals by Cedarville. You know, it was one of those nights where Lane Sarver didn't have the best night and nobody else could support him scoring-wise. They got plenty of size, Justin Finkbein and other guys. They got plenty of size. That's my question is there a second guy or a third guy that they can count on to get collectively 20 points to augment what Sarver gets? If they do, they're going to be very, very difficult. If it comes down to another, you know, Lane Sarver's got to score 25 for them to win, that's going to be a little bit of an issue. As for Botkins, which won that game 51-50, flying to the hoop in double overtime, Botkins has been bitten a little bit by the injury bug. They're persevering through it, but you wonder, you know, they lost, I think, Dylan Top, right, for the season. That's a big loss for them. One of their really good, versatile defenders. Of course, they still have Jacob Plyman and Carter Plyman and Jamison Meyer, nice little shooter outside. So Botkins on top of the D4 rankings. Versailles is on top of the D3 rankings. Tigers are undefeated, and Connor Stonebreaker is I was looking forward to watching him play football next season. It looks like I'm going to get to see him play before Versailles plays football next season, and he succeeds Carson Bay at quarterback. Connor Stonebreaker's got a nice little season going on the basketball court.
Well, you're assuming that he might play quarterback next year. When you're 6'8" and 240 pounds, that's I'm not sure, but what you might not end up at tight end or someplace like that, because who can defend that out in the middle of the secondary? So I'm sure they'll have more candidates to play quarterback than they have people with his physical dimensions to go out and play what would be a very commanding position for Versailles. If you got a 6'8", 240-pound tight end that's got good hands, and he does, and is a good athlete and can run the field, and he can. So, but yeah, we'll talk about them here in a few minutes because they are on my list of 5.
Very good. In Central Ohio, we have some highly ranked teams. Pick Central, number 2 in the state, tied with Westerville South. We are going to cover both those teams this week. Our Steve Blackledge will be covering those. Gahanna is 5th in the state. Upper Arlington was 10th. They got upset on Friday night, a story you can read about on PressProsMagazine.com. Cade Norris, Hilliard Bradley had a big night. Cade Norris' brother Braden Norris plays point guard for Loyola Chicago. I saw they lost to Missouri State this weekend, but he comes from a basketball family. His father's the head coach. So some really good D1 basketball in Central Ohio. And as I mentioned earlier, we have a couple girls teams in Central Ohio that are in the top 10. Also, we want to congratulate A.J. Shelton Dublin Kaufman. A.J. Sheldon got his 1,000th point on Friday night in a wild ending, 52-50. Kaufman lost to Olentangy Liberty. A.J. Sheldon hit a three-pointer at the buzzer, at least we thought it was at the buzzer, to tie the game and send it into overtime. They went and added a second and a half to the clock. Liberty threw it in and scored. So A.J. Sheldon, I'm sure, would have rather won that game on the night he got his 1,000th point. Pretty big week for the family, though. His sister, J.C. Sheldon, also scored her 1,000th point for the Ohio State women's basketball team this past week. So A.J. Sheldon, I think he's going to OU. That kid's he's a scoring machine. So without further ado, Mr. Fulks, how about you start talking your way through our Sonny Fulks personally viewed top 5 boys basketball teams this season?
Well, as I said, every night I go into a gym, somebody said, who's the best team that you've seen? Mm-hmm. And the operative word is you've seen.
Yes.
There are some I haven't seen, for instance, Milton Union. I know they're very good. They've got Blake Broomball and some of their football kids that were fantastic athletes in the fall in football.
Big win over Troy Christian on Friday night, 84-76.
For Coach Pierce. And so, I know those kids are good athletes, but I haven't seen them. So owing to the fact of the teams that I have seen, I will share with this. The best team that I have watched play, and I've seen them play 4 times now this year. Drum roll. Are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
Tip City Red Devils.
Wow. I did not see that one coming.
Well, and the reason I say that is their personality is their competitive personality is a lot of fun to watch. You hear it said a lot of times, and people will say, this is a fun team to be around. It's a fun team to watch. These kids really like playing together. It's not hyperbole when you talk about Tip. Adam Toohey's done a great job. They have a great group of holders from last year, from a team that got beat. And really, let's face it, they blew a big 21, 22-point lead they had in the first half. Chaminade in the regional semifinals down at Butler. But the thing that they have that I have not seen another team match, they have 4 legitimate shooters on the court at all times that can shoot to 3. As evidence we saw the other night, they hit 12 or 13 against Piqua. Gavin Garlitz can shoot to 3. Griffin Colwell had 3 of them the other night. Stan Klein, we just mentioned him a few minutes ago, had 6 of them the other night. Liam Peronsky, you remember him, the quarterback on the football team for Matt Burbacher, hit a couple of threes the other night, had a good floor game. Josh Dietz hit a couple of threes the other night. Evan Maines can shoot the basketball. And Cole Kopic, who's not necessarily a big guy, he's 6'4", and he's not an offensive machine, but he'll get you 8 or 10 points on a given night. They push pace. They're very aggressive. Can they be beat? Of course they can. I think they've lost once or twice this year already. But at 8-2 or 9-2 or whatever they are, they're just a team that you look at every night, and somebody in that lineup, there may be a couple of them that can't, throw it against the wall at the end of the gym, but somebody in that is going to be able to hit shots. And I've seen him beat Piqua. I've seen him beat Sydney, 2 pretty physical, competitive teams, and Butler. Butler's not a great basketball team this year, but again, I've been impressed with Tip City, and that's one team I would say I would not want to take my chances against in the tournament. And if anything, they may be better this year than they were with Ben Knosman last year. Knosman went off and played Division I basketball in college this year, and I think they leaned on him a lot this year. I think last year they played better together as a unit, I think, this year than they did last year with Zach Frederick and Ben Knosman. So that would be my number 1 team.
Well, they are 9-1 overall, I believe. 9-1 or 9-2. Let me check the MVL standings here. They are 9-2 overall, 8-1 in the league, and they followed up their thrilling win over Piqua on Friday night. with a blowout of Stebbins on Saturday night, 75-42. So Tippecanoe is your number one team you've seen play. Now, do we have to say teams you've seen play? Because the only team you haven't seen play is Milton.
I haven't seen Milton.
Okay. Right. But you've seen everybody else that would be in contention for your top five. Like you've seen Troy Christian play, and the Eagles had a tough weekend. I mean, that was a big ask going to Milton Union on Friday night, and Milton had to have that game because Troy Christian had a 2-game lead in the TRC. Milton had to have that game, and they got it. And then Troy comes back home on Saturday night and plays Tri-Village, and Tri-Village just had one of those nights, and I think Troy Christian had one of those nights in the wrong direction, and Tri-Village won that game handily. So Troy Christian's a good basketball team, not in your – well, I don't know. Are they in your top five? Let's go down through and see who's number two.
Thank you very much. My number two team would be the Versailles Tigers, hands down. A talented team, a big team, very well coached. The McElDowneys in the backcourt are experienced. They can handle the ball. They can handle pressure. They can score. They can slash. They can get to the rim. I think the one guy that doesn't get enough credit is the youngster senior they have named Jaden Litton, who seems to have a bad night. He'll give you a bad play occasionally because everybody does. It's high school basketball, but he doesn't have very many bad nights. He defends well. They all defend well, but they're a good role team. They play together, like I just said with Tip. The one thing that I don't know if they have that separates them from Tip 1 and 2, I haven't seen them with the number of shooters like I've seen with Tip at Pickwa the other night against Sydney that night, where they just come down and just start just jacking them and making shots. And what are you going to do? You can guard this guy. You can double this guy. You can junk defense this guy. But you can't do that for 3 or 4 guys on the court at the same time. They've got great size and Connor Stonebreaker. At 6'8", he's the youngster we were just talking about. He's going to be about 240 pounds next year. But he can run. He's an athlete. He can move. He's got nice touch for the mid-range jumper. And they've had their backs to the wall a couple of times, and they've managed to find a way to win. And that's what separates the good teams when it gets tournament time. And they have to play those teams out of Cincinnati like Roger Bacon, who may come out, may slow it down, may hold the ball on you, may do anything to get you out of your rhythm and get you out of your typical pattern of play. And remains to be seen how Versailles handles that. But, in the MAC conference this year, they've been pushed a couple of times, and they've had the wherewithal to come up and find a way to win. That's a very good, very talented, very well coached, and I know they're very proud of them up in Versailles, the number one ranked team in Division III.
They are 15-0.
Yep.
And they are in your backyard tomorrow night. They will take on the Covington Buccaneers, who are 3-10. And Friday night might be a little bit of a different story, as Versailles has to go on the road and play New Bremen, and New Bremen is off to a nice start. So now we get to Tip is number 1. You have Versailles number 2. Who do you have ranked number 3 in your?
My number 3 team that's based on what we've all seen and talked about are the Botkins Trojans. Number 1 in Division IV, and deservedly so. And I think the thing that really surprised me the other night and impressed me was the fact that Jacob Plyman scored 21 points in their win, and they had a good win against Russia. And Russia was well prepared, well coached, well schooled, to go out and beat them. And again, it's one of those nights where they just played better at down the stretch. Hit free throws, made defensive stops. The nice thing about Jacob Plyman, he's 6'6" inside. You think that guy's going to play with his back to the basket. They had him all over the court. Phil Groves had him on the wing. He had him in the corner. He had him bringing a handle on the ball across the timeline. And when you do that and you create spacing, you just can't pack the paint. And that allows other guys to get to the rim. His brother, Carter Plyman, got to the rim. Jamison Meyer had some wide open looks for 3. I think he was 4 or 5 from 3-point range that night. They don't have great depth, and they couldn't afford really to lose Dylan Top. That was a very costly knee injury that'll keep him out for the rest of the year. But they can play 6, and right now based on what we saw, they won the title last year playing 6, as you'll remember, and beat a couple of teams that nobody thought they had a chance to beat. The team from Cleveland and the team from Columbus Grove, which I thought was a very fun team that they beat for the Division IV title. So the Botkins Trojans would be my number 3 team out of those 5 right now, ranked number 1. Again, I say number 1 in the state of Ohio in Division IV basketball.
Yeah, they are 15-1. They are coming off a 55-50 win over New Bremen this past weekend. They play Tuesday night at Fort Loramie. They are 9-0 in the Shelby County League. And they have won a fair amount of close games, which is what I think is a good telling defining characteristic of a team. They've won 3 or 4 games by less than 10 points. New Bremen, they won a close one against Springfield Shawnee. They won a close one against Tri-Village. They've played some close games. They've won some close games. They did lose their only game to Marion Local on the road, 47-46 on New Year's Eve. So they did lose one close game, but they are a team that's used to playing in tight situations at the end of a basketball game, and I think that always serves the team well going into the tournament. So you have Tip 1, Versailles 2, Botkins 3. Who is your number 4 team?
Numero 4, I saw them last night beat Troy Christian. That'd be the Tri-Village Patriots. A team of great expectation because they were 25-0 last year. And I think everyone expected them to get to the Final Four, to get to Dayton, and they couldn't get past Cedarville in the regional round. And we've discussed some of the issues with them. Lane Sarver at 6'5" or 6'6" is a compelling figure in Division IV basketball, as you'll see this year. He's athletic. We know what he has done in football for them as a quarterback, plays quarterback, can throw, can run, can defend, can shoot the mid-range shot confidently, but he can also step behind the arc and knock down a shot for you. Last night, they got enough size with Josh Scantlin, who's 6'5", and a couple other players who are 6'4" or bigger, where they should be a very good rebounding team. It's very hard to pack the paint on one guy with them because they've got that kind of size. But Suggs and a kid named Logan Hale, I think his last name is Wilson Suggs and Hale, played great perimeter defense last night in the backcourt. In fact, I thought they really hurt Troy Christian against Parker Penrod and Chase Dome. Those 2 guys harassed them all night. They created some turnovers. And the one thing about Tri-Village that really helped them, and we talked about this before, about in that business of if Sarver doesn't score, who does score? That usually happens when they have to play in a half court in offense. When somebody says you're going to beat us face to face. But last night they got into transition, and when they get into transition, church is out because they can run the floor. And you scored 109 against Bradford the night before, and Bradford's a much improved team than what people remember a few years ago when they were 0-45 and 0-23 for the 18-19 season. So this is a team with Scantlin and Suggs and Hale and Lane Server and a kid that I wasn't familiar with, Dalton DeLong, last night was 4 for 4 from 3-point range. So they can score inside and out. They can spread the court, at least they did last night, and they have the athletic wherewithal. They got experience, and they got that motivation of being 25-0 last year and getting knocked out unexpectedly. And that sticks with proud high school athletes who have the talent to come back and compete. And I don't know how far they can go. I hate to say the sky's the limit, but until somebody can compete with their size and Lane Sarver's athleticism, and they play. And I thought Sagaster said it well to me last night in the postgame, kind of tongue in cheek, maybe. Hey, we had some other kids step up and make shots tonight, and that was a good thing for our basketball team. Was his quote. So I think that question of if he doesn't score, who does? I think that's on their mind as well, and that's something they're going to work through for the rest of the season.
Well, I think everything's on the table for them. I mean, I know as I talked to Josh last year after they lost to Cedarville, he was talking about the time that they won the state championship at Tri-Village. They had lost the previous year in the regionals and had a disappointing result that motivated them all throughout the offseason, and I think that is what they hope will fuel a long run in March by them. It would not surprise me at all to see them get to Dayton. The only tragedy is that, it's going to come at the expense of a couple other teams that, we can only have one team in there. We can't get Troy Christian and Botkins and Tri-Village there. We'd like to see all 3 there because I think they're all outstanding teams. Speaking of Botkins, Justin notes that if they win Tuesday, they'll win at least a share of the Shelby County League. If they win 2 more SCL games, they'll be outright champions. And then Milton, a team you have not seen play, and we were hoping to get to the Milton game on Friday. We just couldn't make it work because I wimped out with my cough, and I didn't think people at Milton wanted me coughing on them. But Blake Broombaugh scored his 1,000th career point on Friday night as a junior at Milton Union. That is quite an accomplishment. And Blake Broombaugh, like Lane Sarver, is going to have his choice of playing basketball, it looks like, or football at the next level. So congratulations to Blake. And Blake, if we had a nice basketball picture of you, we would throw up a congratulatory post on Instagram. So that's a little reminder for all of you to follow us on Instagram. And if you see something cool happen like that, you can message us on Instagram a photo. So if there's a photo out there of Blake Broombaugh with his, 1,000-point sign and teammates and coaches, shoot us a picture on Instagram, and we'll have our Instagram admin take care of that. We love Instagram, and we love you guys following us on Instagram. So we're on Instagram at Press Pros Magazine. All right, so you've gone through
Speaking of 1,000-point milestones, and congratulations to Blake Broombaugh. He's done that at 1,000 points as a junior. That's roughly 50 games. Parker Davidson, who I wrote about a week ago Friday night over at Bradford, scored his 1,000th point in 50 games as a junior. He's averaging 28.5 points a game. I think he had 33, 34 that night against Troy Christian. And really a dynamic 6'4", 210-pound kid, nice kid, quiet, just loves to compete, got all the shots, really had a good game, and was really impressive that night. So congratulations to him and to Blake Broombaugh. My number 5 team, I don't know how good a team they are, but I know this. They're really competitive. They play in a tough league. I've seen them 3 times play against really tough teams who went right after them, and New Bremen beat all 3 of them. Now, again, I say I don't know how good they are, but they've got some kids like David Holman in the backcourt, Reese Bussey, who can play, Nathan Rindler, and they're very well coached by Corey Stevens. They got some nice role players, Nick Allig among them. They remind me a lot. Frankly, there's 2 or 3 teams in the MAC that are almost mirror images of them. Certainly, I would have thought that Marion Local was on their way to a really good run of wins. And then they go to Jackson Center last night and get beat by 20, inexplicably. That's a team, they've got a lot more size than Jackson Center, that competitive personality that Marion Local has. And they stubbed their toe last night, had a very bad night. And you can have that against Jackson Center because of the way they play defense. And then again, I've seen St. Henry once this year against Anna on a night when I thought they played as well as you can ask a Division IV team to play. They've got parts there as well. Theirs has been a scoring issue, a little bit of inconsistency up and down, but I think the St. Henry Redskins. So when you get to that 5, the number 5 team, there's 3 teams right out of the MAC that are going to really duke it out when it gets to the sectional and district, because somebody there is going to go down to somebody they know very, very well. Anyway, those are my 5 teams that I have personally seen this year, and the reasons why I think the name of the thing is put the thing in the ring. That's the name of the game. Put the thing in the ring. And the team that I've seen do the best job of that on a consistent basis is Tip City.
Well, you have a top 5 matchup looming on Friday night, my friend, because Versailles will be playing at New Bremen on Friday night.
Sir. Yes, sir.
And Marion Local, I know, is in the running to get into your top 5. We will get our eyes on Milton at some point soon. And a lot of good basketball in our area. We love basketball. We love football. We love watching our athletes compete. You've also been out and about at the bowling alleys. You said the MAC bowling standings, regular season standings, concluded this past weekend. Anything you'd like to report from the lanes?
It's one thing to go to a PBA event and see Parker Bohm or one of those guys, a Hall of Fame guy, Kyle Troop, somebody, throw a 300 game or threaten a 300 game. But yesterday I saw Keaton Bruns, who is a junior at Coldwater, and they are the reigning Division II state champions in boys bowling, throw 11 strikes in a row for a 290. and he followed that up with a 256 in his 2-game series. So that's getting it done. I think that's 546 if you add the two together. That's getting it done pretty good. That was exciting, yes. But there were a lot of good scores yesterday, and congratulations to the Coldwater boys that finished number 1 in the league. Of course, I think Brazils was behind them. New Bremen was behind them. So, they got 3 or 4 teams right there at the top of the standings that had fine years. They're going to be very competitive in the sectional and district tournament. And, our bowling story that's up for this weekend talks with 3 or 4 of the better bowlers, more consistent bowlers throughout the season on those teams. And they all talk about what it would mean to them to get to the state tournament at Wayne Webb's facility there on South High Street in Columbus. And that weekend, if you want to go, that's a fantastic thing to go watch. You wouldn't think to hang around a bowling alley all day it'd be that much fun, but it's March 4th and 5th, Division 1 and Division 2, or Division 2 and Division 1, I guess. And it's at Wayne Webb's on South High Street. It's a lot of fun. That's a big, big bowling alley. I think it's got 64 lanes, so there's a lot of room in there. If you want to go, you don't need a shoehorn to get in. There's plenty of room to go and be comfortable and enjoy the bowling action.
Very good. And we want to remind you that you can always follow us on Twitter at Press Pros Mag. Our Facebook page, of course, is Press Pros Magazine. So is our Instagram page. You can watch the website for our semi-daily sports updates. The Lowdown, brought to us by Lehman's Old Fashioned Hardware and General Store in Kidron. If you guys don't know about Lehman's, you need to know about it. It's an awesome store. You can go there right now, lehmans.com, open 24/7. Mr. Fulks is known to make a purchase or two for his gardening utensils at Lehman's Old Time General Store, as he likes their inventory, which a lot of their inventory is made by Amish craftsmen. So it's one-of-a-kind items, and you can always find the perfect gift for the hardest to buy for person on your list at Lehman's. And we appreciate their partnership with us very much, as do we appreciate our partnership with our friends at Precision Strip in Minster, a great place to work. Check them out online at precision-strip.com. They bring us First Person, and we will be getting our First Person videos back up and running as we now get past the holidays and into the new year, and look forward to connecting you with a lot of the personalities, coaches, players who you'd like to know a little bit more about than you get to find out from reading about them on the pages of PressProsMagazine.com.
Now, let me say, you mentioned the Reader Speaks, and let me say this: we have had an incredible number of people contact us, send us emails, texts pertaining to stories that we've had up since December. You can't respond and share all of those. Many of them are very, very good. Some of them don't warrant sharing, but we do appreciate it. They come from all over Ohio. Increasingly, a lot of them come from parts of Ohio that we never get to there personally, but they're following area teams like Marion Local and like Versailles in the state football tournament. And now they're beginning to pay attention to Division 4, Division 3, and Division 2 teams that might pose competition to teams in their area in the basketball tournament. So we hear from a lot of those people. A lot of people from Central Ohio now are writing to us. We appreciate your paying attention. You're taking the time to write to us and share your thoughts. And we will do. In fact, somebody said the other day, wrote to us and said, "Hey, that may be the most fun thing there is to read on Press Pros, because people." It's always fun to see how the other half lives and the other half thinks. So we'll try to do a better job of getting more of those up. Typically, we do it once a month. We may try to get twice a month here in the coming weeks. So.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was muted for all that, wasn't I? Believe me, it was a brilliant take. I was muted so that I wouldn't cough into the microphone. But I was saying that we cover UD and we cover Ohio State basketball. UD had a tough loss on the weekend. Ohio State did not play. They were sidelined by COVID for Nebraska. They play on the road Thursday night at Minnesota. The road has not been kind to them. They did not give a very good effort at Wisconsin. They did not give a very good effort, in my opinion, at Indiana. We will see if they bear up and toughen up when they play Thursday night in the old barn in Minneapolis. Sonny Fulks, have you ever been to the old barn in Minneapolis?
I've been outside it a few times. That's on my bucket list, though. I've never been in Williams Arena, and I'd like to go. I'll get there sometime. I'm going to get there Thursday, obviously, because our schedule is just stacked up with high school games around here. But that's a unique place to go, and it is old school college basketball made comfortable, or more comfortable and convenient.
Anything you'd like to share from the Reader Speaks column or from any emails that you've received, and tell people how they can write to us at PressProsMagazine.com? Is it the Reader Speaks at PressProsMagazine.com?
Let me ask you this. No, if you want to send a comment, all you got to do is just hit the contact prompt on any article that's there inside the writer's bio. Just hit contact, and it'll come directly to our email site here, and we'll address your concerns or questions if we can. I don't know if you heard me when I said the number of people who since Christmas or since mid-December have written in has been gangbusters, and we appreciate people who take time from Northeast Ohio, Northwest Ohio, Central, Southwest Ohio, places we never get to in person, but those people pay attention, of course, to area teams here in football and basketball, as they might pose competition for teams in their area in the upcoming tournament. So we will, somebody said the other day, I will repeat this, that hey, I wish you could do that more than one time a month, and we will strive to see if we can't at least get a few of those edited and put up for people to read and enjoy.
Yes, we will. And with that, we will bid adieu and thank you guys for watching a Sunday Huddle show here on our various social channels. We will probably do this again next Sunday in order to avoid conflicts with high school basketball, although our college teams often play on Sundays. So keep your eye on our socials, and we'll let you know when we will be back. Have fun at the games this week. There's some monster games out there, which we're looking forward to covering. And certainly you can always keep up with your favorite teams right here at PressProsMagazine.com. If you see a sponsor, thank them for their support of high school sports. And with that, we will sign off, as we always do, and say, Truman, go to bed, with a little assist from Lainey Folks Toops, who says she's here for Truman.
Let me share with you, I will make sure that Truman goes to bed tonight, because Truman's in my house tonight. So anybody's questioning that, don't worry about Truman. He's in good hands.
With that, good night, everybody, and we will see you again very, very soon.
All right, good night, everyone.